Welcome to our meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. Before we begin, I would like to review a couple of items. Governing board meetings are business meetings of the board, held in public, and although public participation is encouraged, it is not a meeting of the public. As a board president, it is my duty to carry out the meeting in an efficient and uninterrupted manner so that matters on the agenda are addressed and the business and operations of the district can be seamlessly continue. It is also my duty to maintain an orderly, respectful, and peaceful meeting where all perspectives, voices, and opinions are welcome. Please refrain from speaking out while other person has the floor. At the appropriate time on the agenda, I will recognize individuals wishing to provide public comment in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323. At that time, I will provide further guidelines regarding public comment. California Penal Code 403 states, every person who, without authority of law, willfully disturbs or breaks up any assembly or meeting that is not unlawful in its character, other than an assembly or meeting referred to in Section 302 of the Penal Code or Section 18340 of the Elections Code, is guilty of misdemeanor. Lastly, the California Department of Public Health, CDPH, is recommending universal masking indoors statewide to prevent the spread of COVID-19 variants. It continues to be our practice that CNUSD will follow CDPH guidance. As such, we are required face coverings be worn in all indoor settings, regardless of the vaccination status. Face coverings will be worn properly, covering the mouth and the nose, even when addressing the board during public comment. As board president, I am requesting the staff immediately remove persons who refuse to properly wear a face mask or are disruptive in the meeting to be escorted out of the boardroom. Your cooperation and adherence to this updated CDPH guidance is greatly appreciated. Thank you. So, report from the closed session, there was no action taken. So can I have someone, adoption of the minutes for January 18th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All of those in favor, please vote. Hannah, I'm sorry, first. Okay, good. Thank you. Now we're going to go to special recognition, elementary school student recognition.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Morrow King, Board President of the Corona Norco Unified School District. Today, we have the privilege of honoring and recognizing our Students of the Month. Throughout this school year, administrators at our 52 schools nominate students to be recognized by our school board. These students are chosen based on academic achievement, leadership, or any other quality or characteristics that makes them stand out. We want to thank our parents and teachers for your role in guiding and supporting our students in their commitment to education. Congratulations, recipients. We are so proud of you. Keep up the great work.
Good evening. I am John Reynoso, Director in Student Services.
On behalf of the Board of Education and the staff of the Corona Norco Unified School District, I would like to congratulate the following students for receiving the Attendance Recognition Award. These students have worked very hard on their attendance and should be proud of their achievement. Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Hannah Poor, the 2021 to 2022 student board member, and I attend Norco High School. The Board of Education Student Recognition Awards are given to students who have demonstrated a high degree of achievement, dedication, or significant improvement in academics. Congratulations to all the recipients for your accomplishments. I wish you the best of luck in your future plans.
Thank you and congratulations. We would now like to talk about the 2021-22 California League of High School Educator of Year finalists. Dr. Simon.
Thank you, Mrs. Marqueen, and thank you, Madam President and the board for this opportunity. I would like to call up Malcolm Heron to the podium, please. And while he is walking up to the podium, I wanted to share some really good news with you. Tonight, we have the honor to recognize an outstanding educator in Corona Norco Unified School District, Mr. Andrew Edwards, teacher at Orange Grove High School, who was recently nominated and selected as one of 10 California League of High Schools Educator of the Year in Riverside and San Bernardino counties combined. This prestigious award is given annually to a high school educator who exemplifies excellence in implementing reform at the high school level. At this time, Mr. Malcolm Heron will share a few words about Mr. Andrew Edwards, and we are thankful to have Mr. Edwards here virtually joining us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for all the amazing things that you do. And I do have He is a lifetime Bengals fan, and I've never seen a person so happy in my life that a lifetime Bengals fan was going on right now. But Mr. Edwards, he is a great teacher, and that's expected by being an educator in Corona Norco Unified School District. But what people don't know is that he's an even better person. The things that he has done for students has changed the lives, has changed the impact of families in the Corona region as a whole. So some of the things that, one thing I would like to say, and I don't think he knows this, that Mr. Edwards has done for students.
Are we all allowed to speak like that? Or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a thick one on. There we go. So one thing that Mr. Edwards has done for a student, and just to give a little example, this week he allowed a student to cut his hair. I know that's a small thing, but he also came to work the next day with the same haircut. But he showed that student that confidence that he had built into that student. That student today is fully enrolled into Norco College. He has filled out his FAFSA, so he has changed the life of that student and showed that confidence and belief in that student to give that student to take the next steps. Those are the things that Mr. Edwards does every single day, and the things that he has done for our At Promise youth at Orange Grove High School. So Mr. Edwards, we thank you. He's absolutely amazing, and we appreciate everything you have done and the things that you continue to do.
Mr. Edwards, would you like to say a couple things?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd first like to start off by thanking the board for recognizing me. This is unexpected, and I truly appreciate it. And especially like to thank all the board members who continually come out and support our school. Mary Ibarra, Dr. Simon, everybody else in the district who truly understands what Orange Grove is all about. I don't know that any other district does that for their continuation schools and sees the true value and importance of what we do. And I think it's pretty safe to say Jessica Fuller has been in the same position and probably said the same thing. But it's just a great opportunity to showcase what Orange Grove is doing and all the great things Dr. Heron is doing with our school and for our students who need, the most. So thank you for the individual recognition. But again, I'm very happy to represent our district and our school. So thank you.
Congratulations and thank you. And thank you for taking his reward to him, please. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, at this time, we have a presentation to the board for the 2021-22 Corona School Educational Foundation grant recipients. May we have Gretchen Dowdy. Thank you.
Good evening, Board and Madam President. I'd like to introduce two of my board members. Anthony Warnecki is my treasurer, and we also have Melissa Chang here, a board member, helping present the awards. The foundation was founded as a nonprofit in 2008 to meet some of the unfunded needs of the students in our district. Our priority areas are academic intervention programs, arts and music programs, after-school enrichment, technology upgrades, science and STEM. A total of $565,552.39 has been provided to the schools in form of grants, including this year's dollars. Tonight, I would like to present certificates to our 2021-2022 grant recipients. First recipient is Cartina Gonzalez. She's a teacher on special assignment, English learner and equity, $500 for cultural books and DLA seminar materials. We also have Veronica Perez, is also a teacher on special assignment, EL equity, $500 for cultural books and DLI seminar materials. Amy Gaudia from Franklin Elementary, second grade, $455 for elementary art smarts. We have Don Hornay from Norco High Life Skills, $500. Ink for to print picture cards for non-vocal students for their wants, needs, and ideas. And she couldn't be here tonight. Pilar Romero, Home Gardens Academy. He's in 6th grade, $500 for art classes. Michelle Mason, Corona High School, $290.80 for adjustable volume micro pipettes for biomedical STEM to study DNA. And Aline Porter, Corona High School, $484.35 for 13 micro pipettes. And just so I had to look up, micro pipettes, they're tools to handle volumes of liquid for microliter scales. Anyway, Elaine Garcia, Corona High, ELA, $500 for Puente Students Art Supplies for Earth Day project. Julie Grizzly Inger, Corona High School, $278.94 for subscriptions to 5 science-related magazines. Katrina Anderson, Todd Academy, 2nd grade, $500 for Art Stars lessons. Terry Mahoney, Todd Academy, second grade, $500 for Art Stars lessons. Nancy Jones, Todd Academy, second grade, $500 for Art Star lessons. You'll see a pattern here. Stephanie Log, Todd Academy, second grade, $500 Art Star lessons. Sherry Beth Butler, Todd Academy, second grade, $500 Art Star lessons. Pamela Hinky, thank you, Todd Academy, second grade, $500 Art Star lessons. Crystal Mahat, Todd Academy Kinder, $379 for iPad for Kinder Literacy Center. They're easier than Chromebooks. Christy Lance, Todd Academy TK, $379 for an iPad for Kinder Literacy Center. Jennifer Jennifer Farley, Todd Academy Kinder, $379 for iPad for Kinder Literacy Center. Well, doesn't help when you can't lick your finger. Jill Fitzpatrick, Todd Academy, $379 for iPad for Kinder Literacy Center. Shannon James, Todd Academy for Kinder iPad, Kinder Literacy Center, $379. Sarah Dietrich, Todd Academy, $379, iPad for Kinder Literacy Center. Lisa Tarter, Todd Academy, 5th grade, $455 for Art Smarts lessons. Tara Gudiano, Todd Academy, 5th grade, $455 for Art Smarts lessons. Susan Riley, Todd Academy, she's virtually, 5th grade, Art Smarts lessons. Randy Richmond, Todd Academy, 5th grade, $500 owl pellet kits. Stephanie Rogers, Todd Academy, 5th grade, $500 owl pellet kits. Linda Powers, Todd Academy, $500 STEM Lego sets. And Amanda Proprio Wilson Element, huh? I'm sorry. Wilson. I can redo it. Sorry, Wilson Elementary, 3rd grade, $422.30. Supplies for existing in-class STEAM rotation activities. We are so very proud to be able to award these grants to these amazing teachers and schools and thank them for all they do for the students of Corona Norco.
I want to thank the Educational Foundation for providing funds for these teachers in their classroom. It may not sound like a significant amount, but it goes a long way. And as a former teacher, I thank you from the heart that you guys get this opportunity to put this into your classroom and use. The kids are going to love it. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have a presentation on the trustee area redistricting assessment. Ms. Now.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Just a quick reintroduction. We had with us at our last board meeting from Cooperative Strategies, our demographer, Justin Rich, and he is back to join us this evening to go over some more about regarding our census and redistricting.
Excuse me 1 second, please. Okay, I'm going to remind the audience that you need to put your mask on your nose and on your mouth. If not, then go ahead and exit out the door, please. Thank you. Then go out.
California Department of Public Health says it's okay, it's not. That's why no, I'm good, here's my mask. My mask is over my nose.
Thank you. As board president, I am charged with the responsibility of overseeing the orderly running of the meeting. If an individual is out of order under Government Code Section 54957.9, the part of the California statutes that govern conduct of meeting of the legislative body, I am authorized to call any member of the audience to order, advise them of the consequences if they fail to adhere to those directives, and if that behavior persists, ask our sheriff deputies who are present to remove that person from the boardroom and to be escorted from the premises. This will be the same thing if groups of individuals are deciding to disrupt the meeting. Thank you. We understand your frustrations, but we do have a meeting and we do have to get through the agenda. So at this time, can we go ahead and have Mr. Rich?
Good evening. Nice to be back with you in person this time. Tonight I'd like to just review some of the information that I shared with you all at the last board meeting. We also have an additional map scenario that we're going to share with you based on the feedback that we heard from you. So I look forward to that. So every 10 years, public agencies that elect their members by area must ensure that they are in balance in terms of total population. School districts that elect their board members by area, like you, must do the same thing. So with the release of the census data last year, we took a look at all of your trustee areas and the population contained within each one of those areas. A couple of things stood out. First of all, the district grew by just under 9%. Most of that growth came from the area, not surprisingly, in Eastvale. But what that meant was that the district's variance between the largest and the smallest trustee areas put you out of compliance with that balanced population requirement. So you're at 41.7%, and the legal presumption is less than 10% is valid. So just to reorient everyone to your current trustee areas, we have the map showing the full extent, or almost the full extent, of the district on the left-hand side, and a more zoomed-in area on the right-hand side. The yellow area, that's shaded yellow, that's trustee area 1, and that's on the western portion of the district. Trustee area 2 is in green up in the northern portion of the district. Trustee area 3 is right there in the center of the district in red. Trustee area 4 is in blue on the eastern side of the district, and trustee area 5 is that pink color shaded down in the southern portion of the district. I want to highlight a couple of things here. In this, the table up in the right-hand corner shows the total population of the district based on the recently released 2020 census data. What it shows is that the total population is 277,385. So when we divide that by the 5 trustees, each area on average, or the ideal trustee area size, should be about 55,500. Again, the total variance is at 41.7%, and that's because the largest area is trustee area 2 that covers the Eastvale area, and the smallest area is trustee area 4. Now on the slide, there's 2 data sets that we use as we go through our process. First of all, in terms of total population, we use the information, like I mentioned, that comes from the census, and that counts each and every person. No subset of the population. Every single person is counted, and that's under the column heading TP. You'll see that for each of the trustee areas. We also have the racial and ethnic breakdown that's shown there as well. And then the second data set is the citizen voting age population, or what you'll see CVAP in the column headings. That's important because it's a measure of voting strength for protected classes of voters, and it's helpful for us just to make sure we're in compliance with the Federal Voting Rights Act, meaning that we're not splitting up any group of protected classes of voters such that they can't influence the outcome of an election. So that is also included there. I will just point out a couple of things. First of all, in trustee area 3, there is a majority protected class district based on citizen voting age population for the Hispanic Latino voters at 58.5%. And then in trustee area 2, there is a plurality, meaning they're the largest concentration at 38.5% for the Hispanic Latino voters. There are also substantial populations of Black and African American voters in that trustee area, as well as Asian voters. So once again, I just want to emphasize that how we end up at that population variance. Again, we take the largest trustee area, again, trustee area 2, and when we take the difference between trustee area 2 and trustee area 4, it's about 23,000 in terms of total population. When we divide that by the ideal size, that gets us our variance of 41.7%. In the table, you'll see that really the issue in terms of the population imbalance is most pronounced in trustee areas 1, 2, and 4. And so that's where we're focusing on the map adjustments that we've shared with you and we'll share with you again tonight. First, I want to just go back to some comments that were made at the last board meeting, just potentially some confusion about the census block consolidation. I just want to dive in a little bit deeper there. First of all, census blocks are the smallest geographical unit of data that we have, and it's also what the education code requires us to use when we're constructing these maps, so we can have some certainty about the population, about the statistics, and so that's why we're using census blocks. Now, like I mentioned last time, there was some consolidation that happened across the state, across the nation, where previously there were smaller census blocks. Those were combined with others to make larger blocks, and so normally that wouldn't affect you, and they would happen in areas that aren't right along the boundary lines. However, there's a couple of instances in your district where it crosses over those lines, and so I'm going to point those out here. First of all, there's this area that I mentioned before. It's between the Sampson Avenue or the railroad tracks and Estelle Street, going from Ellis Street to Grant Street. What you'll see on the right-hand side is that blue line shows the new census block boundary based on the 2020 census blocks. That black dotted line shows what the census blocks were previously. So what happened is about 5 different census blocks were now combined into one, and that just happens to cross the boundary between trustee areas 3 and 4. Now, because the majority of that particular census block is in trustee area 3, that's where we've kept it for these purposes. So now it extends slightly with no function of us redrawing the map. It just ends up that way because of the new shape of that census block. Additionally, there was a consolidation in the area between trustee areas 1 and 5. This is in the area of the Saddleback Mountains, and it's from what I can tell, completely uninhabited, but there was some consolidations that happened there. This particular, the line was previously drawn kind of where Douglas Canyon is, I believe is where that is. And so that now extends a little bit into trustee area 5. Again, there shouldn't be any population that is affected by that change. So in scenario 1, this is the first map that we shared with you, and I just want to point out this map is very similar to the one that I showed previously in the presentation. The one difference is that, first of all, we've made some changes to the colors, and we've also included the purple lines there show the existing boundaries of your trustee areas. So what you would do is you would look at those areas where a color is crossing that line, and that'll indicate the types of changes that we're proposing. So when we go to the next slide, I've zoomed in on those 3 areas in particular. The first change is shifting territory from area 2 to area 4. This is the area of Harupa Valley, but also a portion of Eastvale right up to Hamner. There's also a shift that I shared last time, area transferred from area 4 to area 1. This follows along River Road, Del Mar Road, Park Ridge Avenue, 2nd Street to I-15, and that's right in the more central portion of Corona there. And then finally, that other shift from area 4 to area 3 due to census block consolidation in that area near Sampson and Grant Street. So in terms of how that changed the demographics and the statistics, The total variance for this scenario is 9.4%. Again, that is below the legal threshold of 10%. There are slight changes that happen to the demographic composition when we look at citizen voting age population, namely the Hispanic Latino population in Trustee Area 2 is slightly lower, and most of that was shifted to Trustee Area 4. So based on the feedback that we heard last time, namely that we wanted to keep the city of Norco intact within one boundary, we came up with a second scenario shown here. And the changes that we're proposing in this scenario would be, again, shifting area from, or shifting territory from Area 2 to Area 4, that portion of Jurupa Valley served by the school district, and a smaller portion of the city of Eastvale. The dividing line there would be Hamner and 68th Street. The second change that we're proposing is a shift from Area 2 to Area 1, which is the southwest portion of Eastvale, and the boundaries for that are Archibald and Chandler. And then again, that same census block consolidation, Area 4 to Area 3, still exists in this scenario as well. The total variance for this scenario is lower at 7.8%, so that's another positive from positive outcome here. There is less of an impact in terms of the Hispanic Latino population based on citizen voting age population in Trustee Area 2. They're still at 38.3%. And then the largest area in this particular scenario is now Trustee Area 1, and the smallest area is Trustee Area 3. That's it for my presentation tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions, whether they're procedural or just in general, or go into specifics about the maps and what we shared with you.
Okay, we'll start off with Hannah. Do you have any questions regarding the redistricting? You do not. Mary.
So the extra streets that I'm getting into Home Gardens, they're only on one side of the street, but not the other. So why am I not just getting the whole Home Gardens area?
So we wouldn't make a change to that area. We tried to keep that boundary as is, because based on what we looked at, there doesn't need to be a change between for Trustee Area 3, for instance. And so the one change that is there has to do with the census block consolidation that now pushes across that boundary into Trustee Area 4. And so the area below that, I mean, we certainly could make that change. That was not something we were trying to make any changes to Trustee Area 3, because from a population perspective, it's not necessary.
But you're giving me one side of the street. So, I mean, I'm going deeper into Home Gardens, and I don't know.
So I'll just reemphasize what we tried to do is focus the changes on those trustee areas that were out of balance, and those are trustee areas 1, 2, and 4. And so we wouldn't have made other changes ordinarily. Certainly we can clean that up as well. If that's something you would like to see, we can bring that back to the next meeting.
I thought you just said that Area 3 is the smallest right now.
So in the second scenario, it is.
In the second, okay.
Yeah. But it's, my point being that it's still within the population balance requirement and doesn't need changes made to it in order to balance.
Okay, John. He's good. Okay, Mr. Lawless.
I don't know if it's too technical because I'm trying to understand what it is. Because you keep mentioning variance, the total variance. So it seems to me that it plays a big role because the current variance is over 41%. Now the scenario second and 1 and 2, 7, 9. How does it help me explain what that means? What is that?
Sure. In accordance with the one person, one vote constitutional doctrine, you all need to represent roughly equal numbers of people, roughly equal. And there is a long list of precedents. I'm not your attorney, but I can just tell you from what I'm told. There are cases that have gone, in California and federally that say that we know we're not going to be able to get it perfectly balanced. It just that's not a possibility. But if it's less than 10%, that meets the legal definition of being balanced.
Nice.
And so that's why 10% is our threshold, and we want to be underneath that. And we meet the requirements of the law if we're able to do that.
So the 41% currently is too much, right? So
Yeah.
that's why you're doing the change. And I was trying to look, you subtract the smallest from the biggest, and then you divide it to the average, to the desired number, right?
Which is mathematically speaking, it is the average, but that is the ideal size. If we could draw these perfectly such that we were able to have everyone perfectly balanced, that is the ideal size.
Yes. So 10 and less than 10 is a good variance.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Bill? No question. All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
At this time, we'll have the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Madam President, and thank you. So I'd like to also congratulate our Orange Grove teacher, Andrew Edwards, for being named as the Educator of the Year by the California League of Schools, a prestigious award. So congratulations, Andrew. Also, we have School Counseling Week is February 7th through the 11th. It's for our counselors, and they've done a phenomenal job, as everyone knows. And so let's give them kudos throughout the year. But this is their special week, and want to remind everyone about that. Also, a couple of community pieces that are taking place that are important for me to announce. Today is the official start of the Chinese New Year. So it's the Year of the Tiger. So together we celebrate the new year with our CNUSD community. So congratulations again for the Chinese New Year. Also today we have start February, which is and historically has been for a long time Black History Month. So we have lots of activities being held throughout the district and at our school sites. Again, Black History Month, the month of February. We also have Science Fair. We had the drive-through awards that were held on January 26th at JFK, and the winners went upstage to receive the award and take pictures. We had over 300 participants in the fair. Want to give a thank you to Mr. Z and Mrs. Ibarra for attending the awards. Also, I want to give kudos to our classified certificate and substitutes teaching staff for taking days off only when necessary. You know, with the staffing shortage, we've been able to weather the rise with the pandemic over the last few weeks. Again, want to thank them for all their hard work and dedication. They have stepped up and answered the call once again. So thank you so much to all of our employees on behalf of the board and executive cabinet. And then the last thing I want to address is something it's very evident tonight. I see the poster back here of Magic Johnson with Governor Newsom at the Rams game, and LA Mayor Garcetti was there as well. So we've seen that. We are aware of that. They're not wearing their mask, and you know we understand how I'd say not only disappointing, frustrated our parents are because of what happened. It has created a lot of confusion and frustration. However, we as a district need to continue with our obligations to provide and protect all of our students and all of our employees in a safe and healthy work environment. So accordingly, we will continue to adhere to local and state agency requirements, which require the wearing of the mask. So with that, again, I know that you may have some comments as well. I'm going to go to the board comments, but I do want to acknowledge that. And yes, it makes our job even tougher, and it's been tough over the last 2 years. So wanted to say that, and certainly it does concern us. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. B. We'll go ahead, Hannah, the student board report.
Thank you, Madam President. To start off, Centennial had their ASB elections 2 weeks ago and are going to release the results at the end of the third quarter. Their Club Rush and Unity Forum just happened last Wednesday, February 26th. On Friday, February 4th, Centennial High School is having an outdoor winter assembly to recognize their winter sports. Corona is currently planning for a blood drive in late February. Their senior wall was recently finished and they will begin decorating it sometime this semester. Corona is also currently selling their grad night tickets. John F. Kennedy's ASB campaign rally is scheduled for March 25th, which gives applicants a chance to introduce themselves to the student body. Their senior dinner dance is scheduled for May 26th, while senior grad night is scheduled for May 31st. Tomorrow, February 2nd, they will be holding a spirit day for the seniors. Today, Norco High had their senior presentations regarding their senior graduations, products, and information. On February 9th, NHS will be holding a mobile blood drive from 8:30 to 1 p.m. They are also tentatively planning for an outdoor March Madness assembly for mid-March. Last week, Roosevelt had an assembly to give out all of their information for the seniors for the rest of the year events. They are also holding their second semester club rush on Wednesday, February 9th during lunch. And Santiago just had their blood drive today, February 1st. And then on Friday, March 25th, SHS is having their senior dinner dance. They are also currently planning for their senior sunset, breakfast, and grad night. In addition to this, Santiago is holding their talent show on Friday, March 4th. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Hannah. Now we'll have our board member reports. We'll start with Dr. Lawless.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, when I came in and I look at the agenda, and there's no mention of Black History Month in February or the Chinese New Year, I'm a little disappointed. I think we need to pass a resolution sometime because our district is an equity-based district. It's one of our principles, from achievement to social emotional to equity and governance. I think it's just right for us to have some kind of a resolution, or even put marquees of our school to really elevate that we're honoring and valuing the contribution of African American in this country and the Asian as well. Talking about equity, when you talk about equity, it's not just about race, it's also taking care of our special ed kids, or kids who are having some social emotional trauma. To be equitable to these kids, we have to really pay attention to their needs. Also English language learners, also struggling students who may have problems at home, low socioeconomic status, because sometimes we equate equity with color. It's not true. It talks about other backgrounds of kids who are historically and traditionally sidelined, and especially the kids with special needs. Also in hiring, when you talk about equity, we talk about hiring, right? Are our staff and teachers and administrators reflective of our demographics? So we have even gate kids who are excelling. Are we taking care, attending to their needs? What about our LCAP? Is our LCAP connected to the equity policy that we passed a few years ago? So I just wanted to clarify that equity doesn't mean just color. Equity is taking care of kids' needs, regardless of who they are. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lawless. Mr. Z.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm sure Mary's going to probably talk about this, so will probably be some redundancy, and Dr. Bonostro did it as well. But Mary and I had honestly the privilege of being at the science fair, and it was amazing. I mean, we just couldn't believe the kids and the projects, and we got to talk with them more because it was kind of outside than we would have otherwise, and it was great. So we had time because we were the way the stage was set up. We just got some brilliant kids in this district. And some of the names were like, we don't know what that is. Yeah, especially in the higher grades. So it's just great. One of the things I'd like to see us do, and it's very similar to what we've done in the past with the LCAP and getting students together, and I mean students of all, AP students, students that are struggling, students in the middle, a really good cross-section of students. So we're getting the true story is really do some kind of roundtables, very much like we've done with LCAP, and really talk to them, because I know especially a lot of the juniors and seniors are still having trouble. They had 2 miserable years, and so what can we do to make their last experience better? And maybe we can even figure out enough students that we can set up some questions ahead of time so they can ask some of their peer groups some of their thoughts. But then I'd like to see us do that with our staff too. We know they're struggling too. They're working their tails off and they're tired. So what can we do to help facilitate them? So really, I'm talking across the board, but the same kind of scenario. So with that, I'll be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Z. Mr. Pollock.
Thank you, Madam President. It was exciting to start to get back to some campus events. Very nice. Went to a basketball game last night. Saw the senior girls basketball team at Centennial honored. So it's nice to see the activity coming after the surge. And so, Dr. Tompkins, I wanted to thank you especially for making that work for when we were downsized essentially. And I think it was very, very great for our students and their families to be able to be back in the gyms and on the fields with the students. So thank you for making that happen. Tomorrow there's some of the schools are having National Signing Days, so congratulations to our scholar athletes on that. History Day, I'm excited, one of my favorite events, to see those awards and spelling bee next week. Going back to the events on schools, can somebody provide an update on a timeline for getting our visitors back on the campus? I know that we're ending this surge, but if we could at least be thinking of a timeline for that. And Dr. Bunroser, I'm glad you mentioned about the mass situation. It is very, very frustrating to see this go on, and I feel bad for our families and our students, and to see that is very frustrating. And for me, it's what's that end goal? What's the end goal? We still don't have that defined, and it's very frustrating. And so I don't know. I would like to suggest that we. I'd like the Riverside County medical director, if we could invite him to talk to maybe next meeting or something, so we could answer some questions, so we could really move forward with this. I mean, I'm praying that these emergency orders are ended, so we could have some local direction on this. So I would ask that we could maybe invite him for the next meeting. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Mrs. Ibarra.
Yes, I was able to, with John, go to the Science Fair drive-through award, and it seems like every year these students, their projects are harder, and they were amazing. I was able to attend Garrettson Virtual Spelling Bee, which was great to see these students. The words, some of the words were, wow, I had to look them up. And there were students that were, competing of different ages. So 4th grade was competing with the 6th graders, and they had the same words. I was able to attend the wrestling tournament at Santiago, and tomorrow Corona High girls will be wrestling at Northview High School for the CIF championship. So wishing them lots of luck.
Thank you, Ms. Barra. So this month I've been recuperating from a recent knee surgery, and so but I've been in constant contact with. I am part of the California School Board Association Legislative Committee, and we're looking at the pieces of legislation that are out there. And the top two right now that are resonating out there is the mask wearing and also vaccinations. So you're not only being heard here at the district level, but you're also being heard out there at the state level. And so we are meeting with other legislators as we speak, and things are moving fast. And so we're aware of the situation out there. There's other issues out there that will be also coming forward as well. So we are trying to address these from our standpoint, meaning, so I represent Riverside, and so I bring our concerns over here when we talk together as a whole state. So just to let you know. And congratulations to these teams, to the seniors from Centennial and the girls from Corona, and hopefully I will be out there soon to join them because I love watching sports. However, please keep in mind that we do listen to you, and we do think that all the things that you bring up are important, and we do have to report out and see what others are doing around the state. And they're in the same situation. They are in the same situation. They are frustrated, and we know that. So thank you. At this time, we will hear from the employee associations. Hannah, if you need to leave, you may, if you want. You're fine today? Okay, good. All right. So do we have anybody from CNTA today? No? Okay. Do we have anybody from the CSEA today?
No, not this evening.
No. All right, so we're going to go on to public comment at this time. So at this point in our agenda, we invite the public to address the board. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less. All the comments will be timed. I remind the audience that this is a public session of the board and not a meeting of the public. Although the board will not respond to the speakers directly, either during the public comment or after the meeting, staff members may contact or follow up with written communication. If multiple speakers address the same subject, I may request that subsequent speakers only add new information. The time limit for a given topic is 20 minutes, regardless of the number of speakers. If a speaker wishes to be heard on more than 3 topics, the speaker will be allowed up to a total of 10 minutes to address all desired items. Persons who have complaints against employees of the district are encouraged to seek resolution of those complaints by utilizing the district's written complaint procedures rather than orally addressing them at the meeting. Please refrain from applauding after each speaker. Public comment is now open. So our first individual, Kelly Young, on mass constitution.
My time starts. I'm going to make some references to N95s. So just so you guys have some references, can I?
Can you give them to Mr. Gonzalez, please?
Yeah, if you could.
Thank you.
Because it talks about the N95s. I know we were talking about that last board meeting, and so there's a few FDA studies on it. That's all. So I'm going to make reference to that. So I was just hoping you guys, because I know we approached for the trustee areas and all that stuff, so I didn't think it was going to be a problem.
We will have it and we will get it.
Yeah, it's timed, so yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the common law of California does not give you the authority to write your own laws, enforce mandates, and endanger our children's lives. The right to informed consent is meaningless without the right to refuse any medical intervention. Government agents and those acting under color of law are forbidden by long-standing national and international laws for coercing vaccination, mask mandates, and COVID testing. The school board is in direction of 15 state, federal, and international laws. This board has taken federal funds with stipulations that you must follow the guidelines from the CDC. When taking this money, parents of this school district into following mandates, the school board has put into place demanding our children wear masks at a school in order to attend. You have failed to tell the parents of this school district about the federal funds you have taken and the stipulations of these funds. In order for the school to keep its ESSER funds, they have to keep our kids in mask, and eventually the goal is to get all kids vaccinated. This is stated on page 20 and 21 of the American Rescue Plan. These mandates have nothing to do about science, they have everything to do about money. You have illegally mandated mass COVID testing, coercion, and discrimination against healthy, unvaccinated students and teachers. You have gone against your oath of office, which states you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies. That I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. Straight from California Education Code 49005, it states that an educational provider shall not use seclusion for the purpose of coercion or discipline. They cannot use a physical restraint that impairs the pupil's breathing or respiratory capacity and cannot use an item to cover the pupil's face. This notice that is provided, which I am legally, lawfully, with witnesses able to serve you, this notice is provided to inform you that the notifying party has provided the above descriptions of an unconstitutional illegal actions that have endangered the health of my children and many of the other children in Corona Norco Unified School District. If these illegal mask mandates do not end today, I will file a claim against your surety liability insurance policy, and I will seek damages in the full amount of $1 million. I am giving you 5 days to make these changes before I start my filing proceedings against every member of this school board. Number one, we want you to halt the enforcement of policies that require universal masking or masking without consent on children's, teachers, faculty, and staff. We want you to end all vaccine clinics and stop promoting them to children and parents. Number three, cease coercion and pushing CRT and LGBTQ, and including removing any books or curriculum that includes. Remove all COVID testing for staff, especially our fantastic teachers that are feeling isolated. An audit of all school spending as well as the spending of ESSER funds over the past 2 years. Furthermore, a public education is a child's God-given right to a free education without restriction, discrimination, illegal mandates, and not giving the children or parents the freedom of choice. We sat here talking about codes and kicking out parents and government codes because masks aren't up, but yet we're not following any of these constitutional codes. So I will stay until those get served because I can lawfully. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next school board letter, Daniel Rowan.
Copies of what I've emailed to you guys. Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time tonight. I first want to read to you a letter that I know was emailed to you last week, and sadly I didn't hear back from any of you. This is a letter that school board members across our state have been signing and sending to the state legislature. It says, as elected school board trustees from California school districts and county boards of education, we have worked collaboratively with the state and local health departments to keep schools open. For nearly 2 years, we have followed and issued requirements to prioritize the health and safety of our students. Our districts have operated in-person learning safely since reopening, many since fall of 2020, without ever needing to close a campus due to COVID and without that COVID vaccination mandate. However, we now have seen firsthand growing mental health crisis among children and must in all decisions weigh the need for normalcy, acknowledging our responsibility to protect not only the physical but also the social and emotional and mental health of our students. Parents, including COVID-19 vaccinated and pro-vaccination parents, have expressly shared that they are uncomfortable subjecting their children to a vaccination in which there is no longitudinal data. We support staff and families maintaining choice and freedom to obtain the COVID vaccine for themselves and their children, but believe the governor's proposed vaccine mandate removes choice from the equation by enforcing individuals to submit the mandate and losing access to in-person instruction or their jobs if they're staff. Therefore, we believe that parent guardian choice in vaccination and other health decisions is crucial. We believe that the staff choice in vaccination and other health decisions is critical. While we understand the goals of the governor and CDPH to stop the spread of COVID-19, we believe the governor's proposed K-12 vaccine mandate is ill-advised and in opposition to the educational and emotional social goals of the state and our districts. Therefore, we urge the governor to reconsider and rescind the proposed vaccine mandate and state legislature not to implement a vaccine mandate as a condition of in-person instruction and employment to grade 12. Additionally, we expect the state to end the state of emergency, and it gives a timeline on that. The last paragraph in this letter from school board members across the state says, our children have carried this burden for too long. Statewide masking, testing, and vaccine mandates are not the answer. We're asking for you to support and allow a return to normalcy for our schools and students. Many of you up there have stated multiple times that you're in favor of parents' choice making the decision regarding the vaccine. If you're truly in favor of parents making that choice, please speak up and sign your name. Add this letter to the board and send it to the legislature. I have copies for you. There's over 100 signatures now. It's growing. Dr. B and the district sent a letter to the governor. It's time for you guys as our elected representatives to use your voices locally and at the state and oppose these mandates and bills. We're now facing other bills coming up, like Liz said, and parents are coming together across the state and country to protect our children and our freedom. If these mandates in states or bills pass, the number of families leaving public school districts in California is going to be significant. We've already seen nationwide an increase to 5 million homeschooled kids from 2.5 million in 2 years. Please look at this letter and add your names and send it. Thank you.
Danielle, wait, you're next again?
Can I
So she's going to do social. Danielle?
I'm going to get my other.
Oh, gotcha. So, okay, social and mental health.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Good evening again. I've been in touch with many of you over the social and mental and physical mental health of our kids. Last year we met in Zoom meetings and we shared as parents our concerns regarding the impacts of these difficult times on our youth and the disconnect from the school that's happening with these young kids. We worked with you to plan and initiate some events and activities for our kids, and we're told that we needed to have equity among them and at the schools. And I'm very grateful for the activities and events that have been able to resume, but we're currently seeing inconsistencies, again, at different schools from elementary to high school regarding these events and activities, and it's extremely frustrating and confusing and disappointing to our parents and our children. A few of the recent examples that have been shared with me and that I've personally experienced are canceled or not planned winter dances while other schools are having them. No elementary award ceremonies at some schools, and some schools are having virtual awards, academic ceremonies. Some grades and classes are having field trips while others are not. Grad night is happening, thank you. But other classes, 6th grade field trips are questionable. Some sports are having banquets and some sports aren't. If LA can host the playoffs and a Super Bowl with 70,000 people, and we can fill a high school gym for basketball games, then all of these events can and should be happening at all grades and schools. Yes, it may not look like what it used to in the previous years, but it could happen. And in some ways, by utilizing our large outdoor spaces and campuses, all 6th grade and 8th grade promotions need to happen in person on campus this year, just like the success of our high school graduations last year. Our kids have suffered long enough during the past 2 years. These events are a big part of what connects kids to school, motivates them, keeps them trying. Some it keeps them in school, it gives them to look forward to, something to work for. And many kids sadly now think, including my own, oh, it's okay, Mom, that I don't get to do that. I personally don't think we should be teaching our kids to settle. As adults and the examples in their lives, we need to teach them that even though it may take a little extra work and it might not be exactly the same, we'll continue to make these important events and activities happen for them. It really appears that some have become complacent and it's just not easier to not bring these events back because of the extra work. Some will tell us that it's funding that has been a reason why these events haven't been happening. This is really hard for me to grasp because I've recently requested the ESSER funds, and our school district, if I'm correct, has gotten $40 million in the past 2 years from these ESSER funds, none of which has been categorized to support mental and emotional health. None. I've looked through it. If it is there, it's not showing on the reports I've received. I don't understand how we could not put that money towards that. And if you've been around kids, you know there's a clear connection between these events and activities and social and emotional and mental health. It's also frustrating to have been told that there would be equity among our schools and our teachers sit in trainings, but the equity isn't there when it comes to these activities. Expired. It's time to make these things happen for these kids.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay, at this time, Ken LeBert on vaccine mandate.
Good evening. So there are currently over 146 independent valid studies that demonstrate that natural immunity is better than being vaccinated. We all know that most of you have found out recently a lot of information that natural immunity lasts 18 months, according to some studies, longer than vaccines. Okay. I understand the San Diego Unified School District beat back its vaccine mandate for children, and so what are they, the second largest district in the state, something of that nature? What are we going to do? We have a president now to follow them, okay, in some sort of fashion. You've asked in the past for examples of others in the state that are doing this. They're moving forward. Vaccines and repeated booster shots weaken the T and B cell response, thus increasing probability of getting COVID versus somebody who's naturally immune. Okay. Why is the FDA and Pfizer now trying to prevent the release of their information in regards to their trials and their inserts in the vaccines? If they were safe, what would they have to hide? So obviously they're not safe, right? And there's a lot of adverse events. We can talk about VAERS. They've reported 21,000 deaths, okay, over 278 million people. VAERS, that's a low number because many doctors claim they don't even know what VAERS is and they don't want to deal with it. So that's a whole nother, you can multiply that by 5 times, you can multiply it by 100 times at the other extreme end. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between, but it's a lot of people. FDA is supposed to pull vaccines if 50 people out of 278 million people die. In this case, 21,000 people have died, according to VAERS, because of the vaccine, and many more, over 1 million injured total. Okay, and I know you guys are in a tough position, but at some level you have to do something at some point. If you want to make a change, you can't just blame it up the ladder every time. Okay. A recent preprint study out of Denmark covering nearly 12,000 households demonstrated that vaccinated people spread the Omicron variant at a greater than the unvaccinated people. Okay, and I know Danish people, right, Buster? I am one. So most heavily vaccinated countries, Israel, South Korea, Gibraltar, are showing the highest infection rates. And so if you want to go for 100% vaccination rate, let's find out what Gibraltar and how they're dealing with that, how they're doing. Not too well, right? So at this point, what are we going to do? They keep pushing the football or the goalpost down, down the field as the proverbial saying goes, that at first nobody said you wouldn't get COVID if you're vaccinated. Well, actually they did. Both Walensky and Fauci said that. Vaccinated people do not carry the virus. They don't get sick. Walensky, March 29th. Fauci, May 17th. When people are vaccinated, they can feel safe. They will not get infected.
Okay, you can stay up here, Mr. LeBaron. Now you're going to talk about mask mandate.
Okay. Give me 1 second, please. I just want to confirm that I have this other information. I actually did send you folks an email. Just give me 1 sec. Thank you for your patience. Okay, basically, thank you for waiting. Walensky again has said on a number of occasions now, she's quoted a study out of Arizona, which is turning out to be completely fallacious, okay? And this CDC study relies on this Arizona study that falsely promotes that masks mitigates the transmission of COVID, okay? A number of experts said that this study should never have been released in its flawed form. Many of the schools it comprised, its data set weren't open at the time the study was conducted, okay? And many of the schools were closed, some were in virtual, so how can you get it, I mean, it's so obvious. It counted outbreaks instead of cases. It did not control for vaccination status. It included schools that didn't fit the criteria that were set. I mean, this is just so silly. In regards to the N95 masks, there's an email that I sent you. And basically there were 6-7 studies talking about how neither N95 masks nor cloth masks work, okay, for any of this stuff. For relevant known physics and biology are such that masks and respirators should not work. It would be a paradox if masks and respirators works given that what we know about the viral respiratory diseases. The main transmission path is long resistance time aerosol particles. They hang in the air and they're smaller than the threading
for the N95 mask and cloth masks. So they get right in, so masks don't do a darn thing. I know there's a recent study that showed that kids that were born with masks on, so in the last 2 years, have a slower rate of mental development by 2 variants when you account for IQs and motor skills than in the other years, kids that didn't have masks on. So it's affecting everybody physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, etc. Okay, I guess I can stop there. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have Vanessa Nelson on term limits.
Good evening. I'm not specifically speaking on term limits. I just thought this would be a good opportunity to get everyone up to speed about what's going on in the district. Some people have said that we were singling out certain board members as to why we want to recall them. I want to let you know that it's just because as parents...
Okay, can I stop you for a minute? You asked for term limits, so can you keep your conversation term limits?
I am. It's about being on the board
okay.
for a certain term.
Okay.
Right? So, as parents don't feel like we're being listened to, so we are going about this in a way where we feel like we have to. We're working on recalling one of the school board members. You can go to lawlessrecall.com for more updates. But our first set of paperwork was sent back to us because of some indentations, some capitalizations, nothing actually about the content of our paperwork, but it was sent back to us. So we had to resubmit everything to the Register of Voters again. And our paperwork is set to be approved within the next few days. 10 days after that, we'll submit our petition for signatures, and we will go about collecting signatures pretty soon thereafter for the recall election. I wanted to let everyone know what was going on since we did have a break and we haven't been able to gather. You guys did a really good job of kind of quelling the amount of parents that were coming to the meetings to gather and just speak to one another and get together. So I also wanted to, since Eric was kicked out, just let you guys know that his situation is not the only situation where a mask has been thrown on a child's face for something that is completely...
Okay, at this time you are now diverting to another subject, so please keep to term limits, please.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is if you guys really are with us parents, it would be nice to see your names on these letters, because as much as you guys give us words up here, we're not really seeing it in anything that goes. And we, you guys were voted in here for a reason, so we would like to see some action on your part for us parents and for these kids. We're up here saying that we need to take care of kids regardless of who they are, but we're not seeing it. So, yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Okay, at this time we'll talk Matthew Stringer on term limits.
Yeah, hi. I'm Matthew Stringer, and I came and spoke at the board meeting back in November. I'm a registered voter in Trustee Area 1, and I have a couple of kids at CCA in the DLA program. It's a great school, and we love it, and we love living here in Corona. I actually wanted to say I've been learning a little bit about Dr. Lawless. I grew up in the Seattle area. I know that you hail from Seattle. Went to the University of Washington. I did my graduate work at the University of Washington. So we have a little bit in common, but I think there's also some areas that maybe we don't have a lot in common. I wanted to talk about term limits tonight. I think that the behavior and the decisions and the actions of the board represent why we need to have term limits. We saw this incident tonight, right, where somebody was not complying, and so you had the opportunity to exercise some authority in order to remove that person from the meeting. And Madam President, I wonder how that makes you feel. That having that authority, or having that power, and you've only been in your seat for so many terms, right, or for so long. Excuse me, Dr. Lawless, you've been here for 7 terms now, right? That's a really long time. What I see is a board that's not really like trying to take any action Instead, you're waiting to be told what to do. You know, you're a physician, right? Can I call you Bill or Dr. Pollack? You're a physician, right? And you talk about how frustrated you are. I wonder if that frustration is really more at like having to listen to the complaints of the parents and not actually with the hypocrisy of those elected officials above you. So now you have this opportunity to say, hey, wait a second. If you're not going to follow the rules, maybe we need to be a little bit disruptive too. And maybe we need to take a stand. You know, we need to, if we really want to achieve some equity, we actually want some good things to happen for all of the students in the district, then we need to actually sit down and listen to the parents. And I've been hearing about this for 2 years now, how certain board members haven't been listening to the parents. You know, you raised kids in the district, right, Dr. Lawless? But now your kids they've grown, they've graduated, they're gone, right? Well, I have kids in the district now. I'm invested. People like Eric, they're invested. The parents that come here, we're really invested, but we don't feel like there's a lot of empathy. So I would love to invite you to go have a burger with me or something, just sit down and talk. Okay? If you would like to do something like that. Because I'd like to connect with you, and I'd like to figure out what's happening here. Because it feels like there's I mean, it's represented by this physical gap here. Like, it feels like there's such a gap between what's actually happening in the homes of the parents and all the learning loss that's taken place, and what the board is waiting for orders from on high. And I think that needs to stop. So
Thank you. At this time, we'll have Christy Creasy talk about masks.
Much shorter. Hi, thank you. I want to thank you guys for the time that you took. Just like he was saying, I don't know if a burger sounds like a good idea. I don't know. But thank you for the time that you have given us parents this week. Masks specifically, a few things have been said. At first, I was going to talk about our governor and that I don't like sports, but he likes sports enough to sacrifice that picture being out there circulating the whole internet. Children carrying the burden was something that was said. And we're going on 2 years. 2 years, so weird because they told us 2 weeks to slow the curb or whatever they called it. And my oldest is 7, second grade, and slower mental development was something that was thrown out. And like, I'm sure the studies on anything regarding what has happened the last 2 years to our kids is slow to surface, because somebody would have obviously had to have shown we see this trend. That sucks. I think about my kid turning 8 years old, or my other kid in kindergarten now starting to read. We do love our school. We have had pleasant experiences with the teacher, so I'm not throwing any teacher or administrator under the bus. It's just, I really believe that masks and the stress that this culture has caused is creating such an emotional burden to families. And I would rather be at home watching Netflix every Tuesday. I mean, Kelly joked last week about being on her Peloton. I was at BJ's eating a Pizookie when I was watching public comment. I couldn't figure out how to make that work for me to call in. I guess I could have sat at home all night. The weird thing, though, about the governor and the confusion that comes from it, and I know you're all like, oh, great, this complicates this for us. But I heard once upon a time, he said, we will know when the state of emergency is over. And for him to have not cared enough for those pictures to have been taken, it seems like we can see what he really thinks about the emergency orders. But then that goes back to the children carrying the burden. The children carry the burden. Like, we just leave it on the least of these. It just keeps passing it. If you call the governor's office, they say, well, it's the health department. If we call the school board, they say, well, it's the health department. Okay, so it's the health department, but the governor doesn't care. But my kid isn't going to stand up to the health department. My 5-year-old, my 7-year-old. We want them to be compliant kids. We want them to obey their teachers and the administration at their school. We can't tell them, just don't do it, which that is us parents organizing and uniting. That's the message that's forming. Just don't comply. Don't wear the masks anymore. And like, I don't want to be the jerk that tells all the kids to do that, but who actually enforces it? Because the sheriff of our county here literally said on Instagram in the mandates, I won't be enforcing this in Riverside County. So who is in charge? Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll hear from Matt Cervellis on mask mandates.
You pronounced that very well. I appreciate that. Thank you. So conspiracy theorists, right-wing fanaticals, racists, domestic terrorists are the terms that are used by those to silence us who want to fight for our freedoms and right to choose for our own health and that of our children. Time and time again, the facts and the data continue to prove that these groups are right about the failure of wearing masks and the false news about how effective the experimental vaccine is. All government officials can do is hurl insults and try to label those fighting with our rights with insults. Well, all they do is hide the facts. Government officials ignore their own mandates, like you guys all saw with Newsom and Garcetti, a place where Mayor Garcetti forces his elementary and high school students age to wear masks, where Newsom has the audacity to claim he only took the mask off to take a picture of Magic Johnson, and then more pictures surfaced where he was lying about that, which I got some nice pictures of him sitting in a box seat, surrounded by people without masks. The ability to say it's okay to have a Super Bowl in LA while Newsom and Garcetti try to say we are in a state of an emergency is an insult to the intelligence of the people of California. Governor Newsom, Mayor Garcetti, Judge Sonia Sotomayor, and even recently Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau are all just a few notable people who tell false stories and data and try to scare the truth out of people. The truth that was confirmed by Johns Hopkins University just the other day when they came out with their study, and I quote, "We find no evidence that lockdowns, school closures, board closures, limited gatherings have any notable effect of COVID-19 mortality." So you guys should look up this study and start using that to apply to what it is you are doing. You guys all stand up and you pledge allegiance to that flag every time you have a board meeting. I grew up as an Air Force brat. My father and many soldiers would stop at dusk and they would lower the flag. They would stop everything they were doing to stand up, salute. And when I was a little kid, I thought, oh, that's kind of neat. And as I got older, I realized they were paying respect for past soldiers, present soldiers, future soldiers who protect the Constitution. And we all don't get that opportunity in our life to stand up and fight for something. And you guys have had that opportunity and you've just sat there and you've wasted that opportunity to be a leader. And I told you last time I spoke, now was the time for you guys to lead. And you're missing that opportunity. Not many people get that chance in their life to stand up and fight for the Constitution. What an awesome story that would be to tell one day, how you stood up and you fought for freedom. You fought and you took a risk. Instead of just being compliant or doing fiduciary responsibility type things that insult your teachers and your students. I'm a PE teacher, been in your district for 24 years. When we're outside without masks, the joy in the kids is great. Then I go into a classroom to cover a teacher's class, and it is insulting, it is embarrassing, it's depressing watching those students. There is no life in them in that classroom. That's embarrassing. You need to stand up.
Thank you, Matt. This time we'll hear from Raina Mudwar on emotional safety. Raina. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Virginia Cordy on trustee area map.
Good afternoon, good evening. Concerning the trustee area maps as I have seen it to be right now, I object to it, just like I did years ago. So before you readopt a map that splits communities, we should discuss the possibility of expanding this board. Because for 40 years, the community has had discussions about adding 2 more seats to this board. However, it's never been an agenda item. Population balance is not all that needs to be addressed. You need to keep communities of interest together. Currently, we do not have that, and please, you need to put them back together. Home Gardens in El Cerrito should not be connected to Norco because they attend Corona schools and they call Corona home. They are unincorporated areas of the county. Also, a piece of Home Gardens got cut out and put in Area 3, and now it looks like that area has expanded even more. As well as a piece of Coronita ended up in Area 3, I believe, okay? These are communities of interest that should never have been disconnected from their neighbors. I realize that Norco doesn't have enough of a population to have its own trustee area, but with 2 more seats, that is very likely possible. Also, I've lived in the school district for 40 years. I've seen a lot of comes and goes. I've seen a lot of things happen. I've put 3 children to the school district and 9 grandchildren. Some are still in here. I am very concerned with what goes on here and our communities of interest. Put our neighborhoods back together, please. And I think Norco should be its own area. You should have your own representative. And this is not an insult to Mr. Zicafus. But with 2 more seats added to the board, I think the entire school district would be better represented. Also, could I have the data concerning the population stats for the current trustee areas? Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for your comments. Although the board will not respond to your concerns at this time, please be sure that all comments are taken seriously. As I stated previously, a staff member will contact you or follow up with the written communication. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to the consent items. Are there any polls for discussion?
And for me, none. None.
No.
I'd like to comment on 16G as in George and 16J as in John.
On page
I'm sorry.
11?
G is on 12 and J is on 13.
Okay. Ms. Ibarra?
Yes, I'd like to pull 16D on page 11.
16D on page 11.
And just to clarify, I just wanted to discuss these, not pull them.
Okay, great. Ms. Snell, do we need to talk about the comments first, or should we go ahead and vote on the consent?
Vote on consent.
If I vote on the consent items first? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and vote on that. Can I have someone move?
Well, again, I wanted to
Just wanted to
get some
discuss those two?
information, yeah, and then make the decision about pulling.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
I just had on G, I just had wanted to ask Dahlia just about that, the 25,000 additional funds. What is that for the Yee property?
Sure. So this is for TRG Land. That's our consultant that's working on the Yee property. They work with, in looking at different options as we're exploring the uses of that land. So like, for example, when we were looking at zoning options, talking with also Mission Clay to get access for the property and looking at different ways, we can make that land usable. So it's just an extension of the contract, an increased amount for the consulting services. He also works with our attorneys as well. So it's just the time and effort of the consulting services for that land.
Are we going to see some updates on what this funding is going to be used for? Again,
Yes,
I'm
so
talking about an end goal. A lot of times I want to see that, and we've been working with this project for a while, and we're not seeing any end goal.
yeah, we have some updates that we're sending out to the Temescal committee by the end of this week, and then we have our meeting with the Temescal committee Wednesday of next week to discuss all those. So we'll have some information.
Okay, so there will be some updates.
Yes, we'll mail
Okay.
that out this week.
Okay.
Email that out.
Okay, so you want to go ahead to J then?
Yeah. Okay, and then on J, regarding the CFD 2120, I had emailed you just to let you know in there it said regarding the city of Corona, and in fact it's the Temescal Valley, so I wanted to make sure that was corrected.
Yes, thank you for catching that. We made the correction right away and it was reposted.
Okay, so it was reposted then?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's online at Temescal Valley.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ibarra, did you want just clarification, or you just want to pull it? She wants to pull it. Okay, so let's go ahead. Can every item except for 16D on 11. We'll come back to that. Do I have anybody to make a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. So can we vote now, please? Oh, Hannah. Thank you, darling. Thank you for the vote. So let's go on. Let's go back to page 11, please. Ms. Ibarra.
Yes, I don't agree in paying this amount.
Yeah, can you repeat that? Yeah. Did you hear? Oh, you did. Okay. Did you want to discuss? Did anyone else want to make a comment? No further comments? Okay, we'll call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So let's vote. Thank you. Has moved forward with a vote of 3-2. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to item 12, Executive Services. Ms. Now?
Yes, we had a community member request to put this on the agenda for discussion. So we have the additional high school in Eastville as the topic. And I believe you have some public comment regarding this topic that we probably should have first.
Yes, we do. So can we have Creasy come up, please?
Prepared with a typed thing this time. I live in Eastvale. Okay, so I moved to Eastvale 10 years ago, no kids then, and we knew Rondo would come one day, and I planned my pregnancies around it. Not exactly. Okay, so I'm going to go off your data you had up here for the rezoning with the census numbers. Trustee Area 2 had a total population of 69,714 and total voting age population of 37,136. The difference being 32,578. If I'm not wrong, that means that that's how many people in your area are not voting age. So I'm assuming they're under 18. So thanks to Judy, thank you for sending me the numbers you did. I was able to work with them. Comparatively, in Area 1, that's 12,000. In Area 3, that's more like 21,000. Area 4, it's 13,000. In Area 5, it's 15,000. So then we'll take away the high school enrollment from that 32,000 number. Roosevelt is at 4,519. We're Centennial's just over 3,000. Corona's at 255. Norco's just over 2,000. Santiago's at 3,300. So if you take away the current high school population from the people who are under age 18, that gives you about 28,000 students in Eastville, not yet in high school. You guys have your data of obviously who's in kindergarten, first grade, all the grades. You have access to that data. Obviously, pandemic can affect your numbers. But if you take what you assume is the population under 14, so 28,000 divided by 14, you're looking at 2,000 kids. Say you hypothetically assumed each age was equal. That then puts you 10 years from now with 8,000 kids in high school at one time in Eastville. Can Roosevelt and the STEM school accommodate that many kids at one time? Thank you for the time that you gave us in that conversation. I know that I started at a brand new high school that was big like Roosevelt. I went to King High School at the beginning, and I realized my high school experience was slim pickings. We were very small then. I know other people in the room know. I just really feel like the people in Eastvale pay a lot of property taxes. I sucked it up when I moved there, and there's a lot of people in that area, and we want In exchange for our contribution to your budget, us East Valians really need our kids to have properly populated high schools, safe high schools, classes with less than a 42-to-1 student-teacher ratio, and more opportunity for sports too. You might have to get creative because the elephant in the room is that there's very little land in Eastvale. We all obviously know that. So my request is that you act quick to secure a site and get creative and collaborate with, I don't think you do inter-district things, but I know Chino has the whole new development, Ontario has the whole new development, or completely reconsider transfers into Roosevelt also. So, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Dr. B.
Thank you, Mrs. Marroquin. So, just to briefly summarize concerns over Roosevelt. You know, when the school was designed roughly about 19 years ago, I think this is the 17th or 18th year the school has been opened. The school was built by design as a large high school to accommodate 4,000 plus students. So we've known that since day one. That's why it's a humongous campus with a lot of acreage, probably the size actually bigger than sometimes community colleges out there. So that was a decision that was made again about 20 years ago. I happened to be a principal at the time and was involved a little bit in that process. Those concerns. One of the things that we've done, we've built the E-STEM over the last. Now it's been open probably about 6 years or so. The building itself has been occupied probably for the last 3 years, but we started the program about 6 years. That also provides 830 spots for children. So right now we have roughly just shy of 5,000 capacity on the campus itself, which is the Roosevelt campus and the E-STEM. That's the design that was done at the time. I understand the concerns. I met with the city of Eastvale. I went to an Eastvale meeting, city council. There was community concerns because the city of Eastvale, just like the city of Corona and the city of Norco, all the cities, they had to come up with some plans that there was a mandate from the state that to provide housing, and there's a formula there. And for the city of Eastvale, it was roughly, I believe, 2,800 additional dwellings. A plan needed to be submitted a couple of months ago. And so that gets folks concerned. I'm going to ask Mr. John Vadruska to come up here because we do have demographers that look at the numbers. I think the comment that was expressed by Mrs. Creasy is important, is what are our projections? So I'm going to ask John to come up here. But before he does that, I do want to say that we have a phenomenal partnership with the city of Eastvale. We will continue that. And I'll add some other comments to kind of conclude this summary, if you will. But Mr. Vandruska, if you can kind of summarize where we're at with Roosevelt, to be exact.
Thank you. As Dr. Bonrosto said, we've been working with the city of Eastvale. We do know that there's some potential new developments. We had a meeting with them a few months back about the housing, exactly what he talked about. We also been working closely with our demographer, which is Decision Insight Power, and they're doing projections. We are declining as an enrollment as a whole district. We will see a little bit of a dip even in the Eastvale area before we project to level out and possibly grow in about 6 or 7 years due to that housing development in Eastvale when it comes online. I actually have a meeting in the next few weeks with the city planning department and the consultant that is doing the larger project. There's a larger project out there, and we're going to take a deeper dive into what their timelines are. And once we get more of that information, we'll be able to better project what we think we will have in Eastvale as a whole. We don't just look at high school projections, we look at the projections K through 12. So I hope that answers the questions. I don't know if
maybe
has anything or anything more you want me to touch on.
Yeah, maybe you can touch a little bit on, I know that the board took action a couple of months back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. And Dr. Bonrosa brought up a good point. It slipped my mind a few minutes ago. Back in October, we asked the board, we brought a resolution to the board asking them to give us the opportunity to set up a boundary committee to evaluate the boundaries in the district, whether it's high school level, intermediate, or elementary. And we do plan to form a committee in the future if needed to look at an adjustment to the boundary in that area, whether it be the high school level, elementary level, or other areas of the district. So we have that flexibility. It's just a matter of doing a little bit of a deeper dive and then consulting with Dr. Benrostro and initiating that committee.
Okay, so if you guys have any questions, we'll be happy to address them.
Dr. Lawless, you have a question?
Dr. Benrostro, in collaboration with you, we're going to do a little study, right? You look at the single homes. I know some of our past people who occupied your work, and Dr. Benrostro, that's why we have so many high schools, because they did a scientific job of scouting, studying the population growth and all of that. So I'm sure you're in the process of doing that, right?
Yes, we have our we take a deep dive with our decision insight as far as the projections. We don't want to be caught off guard.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Mr. Barra, thank you.
Roughly how many students are on inter-district transfer to Roosevelt?
I don't oversee the inter-district transfers. That would be Dr. Goins or Dr. Sanchez, I believe.
Because of the impact of students there at Roosevelt, we do not allow intra-district transfers. There is a few exceptions, but inter-district transfers, in other words, from outside the district, we do allow them for other schools, but not for Roosevelt because of it's impacted. Also, as far as intra-district transfers, those are limited to basically staff that has children there. That's been per contract. It's been in place for quite some time.
So it's not a huge number to give us the reason that we have such, 4,000 plus students at Roosevelt.
Yeah. So for clarity purposes, right now at Roosevelt, we have, let's see here, between both campuses, we have 4,519. Between both campuses, remember, we have about 800 at the East End and about 34, 35 and change. We've had large high schools. You may remember Santiago. We have some of the bigger high schools in the state. As a result, those are one of the reasons we have some phenomenal, there's a lot of reasons, but we have some phenomenal programs that compete at the highest level because we have the numbers. I hear the concerns of parents because they want more and more children to be involved. We do too. But those are things we will continue to look at and work with site administration and also look at and work with CIF because there could be some opportunities for us to provide more athletic opportunities for example, Roosevelt, maybe Roosevelt and East STEM, see if we can work something out there.
So my question was because if we're being overloaded at Roosevelt and we're so low at Corona High and Centennial, it's like, why are we letting, I did understand at first it was because of the dual immersion, but that's not very many students going in there.
No, we're not, as I said earlier, maybe it wasn't clear. We are not permitting inter-district transfers, and intra is very limited. And as I said, it's been in place for, it's in the contract. But it's very limited. And I mean,
so those 4,000 students, the majority live in Roosevelt area.
It is over. I remember about 2 years ago, I went to the city of Eastville and they asked me what was the percentage, and it was like 2 or 3% maximum that are outside of the boundaries of Roosevelt.
Mr. Pollock.
Oh, that was going to be part of my questions. I was wondering how many dual language students are at Roosevelt, and for the Spanish, not the Mandarin.
Yeah, we can get you the info. It's very small. Many of them are now going to Corona High School.
Okay, I would still like to have a quantitative number.
We will get to that.
Because we have the dual language Mandarin that will be going to Roosevelt. So if we place, it all at Corona or at one of the other schools for the dual language for Spanish, I don't know how much that would alleviate, but
I'm going to look into the crystal ball right now because I think it's important that potentially, let's just say that there's remember, we are declining, but let's just say that there's resources we can do. We can transfer some of the students we can transfer. John talked about the process. That can help with a couple of hundred students. For example, we've had declining enrollment, as you guys said it. It's definitely at Norco, definitely at Corona Senior High School. That's been happening for years. So those are some options there. In addition, if we had an explosion of residents and in that Leo property, I believe it's called,
Correct.
and there was 2,800 dwellings built there, there's things we can also do. Maybe we can do a partnership, for example, with the city of Eastvale, with Norco College and us as a district, and have like an academy. We're not looking at a comprehensive high school. Comprehensive high school is going to cost you in excess of, John, I don't want to put words, but probably over $200 million.
Correct.
Yeah. But we could look at again, if there's a need, we'll continue to work with all of our folks like we always do. But if there's a need, there's lots of resources that we can utilize.
Ms. Markin?
Just don't forget about Temescal too. You've been
I understand.
promising that, and so
In the I'll get back to you. Okay. We were talking about the redistricting, okay, and so now if we do scenario 2. Will the individuals that are in the new dwellings go to Norco High, or would they go to Eastvale?
The redistricting does not affect the boundaries. That does not affect boundaries.
Okay. Go ahead.
We're talking about a lot of details, and I think kudos to the parent who really raised the issue, because she has a sense that there's a possibility. But before we even raise that high expectation, let me ask you this. What is your sense of the possibility? Do you have the area? Do you have the money to do it? What is your sense? Is it realistic?
Well, the sense is we need to go by the data that we have. And as
what kind of data are you looking for?
Well, student data and student projections. And so as Mr. Vandruska said, we're actually, and John, I want you to be clear with this. We are looking at, from what I remember, either this upcoming year and the next as the peak, and then a downward trend at the secondary. Is that correct? I want
That's correct.
Yeah.
So what will be the barriers? What do you foresee are the barriers of having a high school in Eastvale, realistically?
Of adding a high school?
Yeah.
Well, the land, number one.
Okay.
Land is a barrier. In fact, it was a barrier 10 plus years ago. That's why the East End was built on the Roosevelt campus.
And what's the possibility of securing a land?
John, I'll let you answer that piece.
That would take further analysis to see what's available within our boundaries within the city of Eastvale. Because for another school, maybe not necessarily a comprehensive high school, but those are decisions that would need to be made. The acreage that we would need is significant.
So I hope that when you present this to us, you have a more research-based kind of data. Otherwise, we're all guessing. We're all raising the level of expectation and anxiety of the parents, and we don't have concrete data in front of us. So please, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move to the last page, closing ceremony. Wait. No.
Madam President, item C under, on page 5.
Sorry. This is it. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. C, community member requests board member term limits. Okay, Ms. Now.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any other public comments in and around this topic, or if you have any questions you'd like to ask of me regarding term limits process.
Mr. Pollard?
For discussion.
Yeah, so I know that we discussed this previously, February, March. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
actually, it was a year ago. February was our.
Okay. And you know, I personally am in favor of term limits. But you know, there's various 3-term. I'm a two term, and I'll keep saying that. I do like, I mentioned at the last board meeting that was virtual, about going up to 7 with the size of our district, you know, the 8th or 9th largest. And I did discuss that, but there was no comment, and it was hard because it was virtual. I would like to readdress that because I do think that gives us more representation for our community. We have you know, Eastvale, Norco, Corona, Temescal, El Cerrito, Corneta. We have so many communities, and I think the more representation would be advantageous for the community. And so I would like to find out, you know, what my colleagues think about that before we get into the process of the term limit.
Is that different than what we're to be discussing?
To answer Mr. Pollack's question, we are on a time constraint regarding this rebalancing. It has to be done by the end of February. Otherwise, the county steps in and makes those the balancing for us. But obviously, outside of this process, that can be entertained at another time.
So to simplify things, I would like to have that discussion put on the agenda for an upcoming meeting on, you know, benefits or not of increasing to 7. So we can do it another time. Going back to the term limits, so what are the process? Because I know it was discussed. What are the process for this? Can we take a vote right now saying we want term limits?
The answer is no. So if you and kind of dusting the cobwebs off of my research from last year regarding this topic, we had our legal counsel come in February and kind of give you some of the legalities and behind the process for term limits. Ultimately, the only people that can make the final decision about term limits are the voters. So you have to somehow, for the voters to vote, you have to get it on the ballot. So there's 2 ways for that to happen. The board can take action on a resolution that you would like to enact term limits, and then that resolution would move forward to the Riverside County Registrar's office for it to be put on the ballot. The second alternative is for the public to decide to impose term limits on the board, and then that would be a process where they would have to gather, I want to say at the time it was around 16,000 signatures, which is an indication. 16,000 signatures from, you know, members of the community would be enough enough signatures to indicate that there's a desire to have that on the ballot for vote. So there's 2 different ways to get it on the ballot, but ultimately it's the voters that make that decision. So you could want it could go on the ballot, and it could be voted down, and then you wouldn't have term limits, or it would get voted.
What did the city of Corona recently did this? How did they do it? How did they? What do you know? Anybody know what their process was?
I didn't follow their process closely, but I want to say they did a resolution for that to happen. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was their process.
Thank you. Mr. Z.
Curious what the cost would be, or a guesstimated cost. I know what you can't give
Well,
exact.
at the time last year, we sent a Q&A to the county registrar's office. It's around $160,000, and then if for the 16,000 signatures, they guesstimated about 50 cents a signature. So it would be roughly a little under $170,000 for the cost to be put on a general election. Obviously, if you did a special election, it would be much more expensive.
Martin?
Dr. Lawless.
May I again, may I request that if we put something on a discussion, can you give us some paperwork, some information, so we can engage in a real reflective conversation with you? Otherwise, if you're really serious about this, let's be serious about it. So maybe we should give us some. I know you did that a long time ago.
Yes.
Let's come back to that and let's discuss it, and then come up with a resolution, and then otherwise the discussion is not going to go on anywhere without the paperwork. Thank you.
So if we were going to get it on this election coming up in 2022, we have to have all the information in before August. Am I correct?
Right. It has to be filed by August. I want to say at the time, a year ago, when I was doing my research on this topic, I looked at some districts that went through this process. I think they approved their resolution in May. Started having discussions around January, February, and then by May they had written their resolution to move forward.
So the advantage for us is to tell, if we did a resolution, then we would suggest a time limit, opposed to if the citizens decided it could just be a one term, if that's their decision. So again, you might want to think about that in the process. Thank you. Mr. Pollack, one more.
So you said the cost, going back to the cost, 160, 170,000. That's that'd be the responsibility of the district.
Yeah, it's the responsibility of the district either way. We would pay that cost if it was citizen initiated or yourself initiate. Either way, we
the 160,000
yes.
plus 50 cent.
Yeah.
We would pay regardless whether it came. Okay.
I do remember last year legal counsel said that often boards will poll the community to get a pulse of if it's worth the time and effort to put this on the ballot. I don't think you had an interest at that time because our community was being polled by so many other things with COVID and other things, and there is a big cost to that too. You don't have to, but I do remember legal suggesting that as a way to get an idea if this is an interest from the community.
Thank you. Ms. Ibarra.
I would like to request to poll the community to see the interests. If not, I would like to see a resolution to do this.
Okay, can we have a motion then? Do we need a motion for that?
There's no action.
No action, okay.
What I can do is just take your advice, and then I can put it on the agenda, and then for action, and then you can.
I would like to see a drafted resolution. Personally, I respectfully, with Mary's comment about polling, I don't think that's necessarily necessary. I'm sorry. I'm interested in a resolution, so I would like to see that drafted.
Okay. Would you like that brought back by the next business meeting in March, or so I have a time?
I think that our next session is going to be pretty heavy with some of the things that we need to cover. How about the next board meeting?
The April business meeting?
Yes, please.
That would be perfect. I'm sure we're going to need legal counsel to guide us through the resolution process, and so I think a little extra time would be helpful on my part.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Now we'll move to the last page where we're going to have someone move to close this session.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Hannah. I got you this time. Okay, let's vote, please.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for attending this session. Our next meeting will be on February 15th.
And it looks like Mr. Gonzalez is ready to give us those folders, so yeah.
Thank you.